The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as I slammed my locker shut, the metallic clang echoing through the empty high school gym in suburban Ohio. Sweat still clung to my skin from the brutal afternoon practice, but it was the knot in my stomach that made me pause, because there, in the corner shower stall, my best friend Jake was curled up on the tile floor, sobbing like the world had just caved in on him. "Get out, Ethan," he choked out between gasps, his voice raw and broken. But I couldn't move, frozen by the sight of his broad shoulders shaking under the relentless spray. I'd known Jake since we were kids, terrorizing the neighborhood with our backyard football games. Two scrawny boys dreaming of Friday night lights under the endless Midwest sky. Now, seniors at Lincoln High, we were the unbreakable duo on the varsity team, me, the steady quarterback with a cannon arm, and him, the lightning-fast wide receiver who could dodge defenders like they were standing still. Our coach always joked we shared a brain, the way we'd sync up on the field without a word. But off it, that was where the real plays happened. The late-night drives blasting Springsteen. Confessions about college fears whispered over greasy diner fries. Lately, though, Jake had been pulling away, his laughs shorter, his eyes dodging mine like I was the enemy line. That afternoon in the locker room, the team had cleared out fast after Coach blew the whistle on drills, everyone high-fiving and trash-talking about the upcoming game against our rivals from across the river. I lingered, as I always did, wiping down my cleats and stealing glances at Jake, who was uncharacteristically quiet, stripping off his pads with jerky movements. "You good, man?" I'd asked, tossing him a Gatorade, but he just grunted and headed for the showers. That's when I heard it. The hitch in his breath, the muffled curse that turned into a full-body heave. Pushing past the steam, I dropped to my knees beside him, the hot water soaking through my shirt in seconds. "Jake, what the hell? Talk to me." He tried to shove me away, his wet hand slipping on my arm, but there was no force behind it, just exhaustion, like he'd been carrying the weight of the entire offensive line solo. His face, usually all cocky grin and sun-freckled cheeks, was a wreck. Red-rimmed eyes, lips trembling. "It's nothing," he muttered, but his voice cracked on the lie. I grabbed his wrist gently, feeling the pulse hammer under my fingers. "Bullshit. You've been ghosting me for weeks. Is it your dad? The scouts? Or—" I trailed off, the words I'd buried deep bubbling up unbidden. "Or is it me? Because God, if it was, I'd been blind not to see how every brush of our shoulders in the huddle sent sparks up my spine, how I'd replay his victory hugs in my head long after the adrenaline faded." He finally met my eyes, and in that moment, under the unforgiving shower light, I saw it, the fear, the longing, the mirror of my own hidden chaos. "Ethan, I can't." But he didn't pull away. Instead, his fingers tightened around mine, and the world narrowed to the drip-drip of water and the thunder of my heart. We sat there until the water ran cold, him spilling fragments of the storm inside. His old man's belt marks from another tough love talk about manhood. The scouts whisper that he wasn't team player enough after skipping a party to study, and worst, the gnawing secret he'd carried since sophomore year, that he wasn't who everyone thought he was. Not straight, not simple, gay. The word hung unspoken between us, but it was there, electric as a live wire. I didn't flinch, couldn't, because I'd felt it too, that pull toward him that no amount of cheerleaders or locker room bravado could drown out. "You're not alone in this," I said finally, my voice steady despite the quake in my chest. "I've got you. Always." He searched my face, hope flickering like stadium lights at dusk, and for the first time in forever, he leaned into me. Not as a brother, but something more fragile, more real. That night, we drove out to the quarry on the edge of town, the one where we'd skipped stones as kids and now parked trucks to stare at the stars. The air smelled of damp earth and distant bonfires, fireflies winking like conspirators. Jake cracked open a couple of stolen beers from his cousin's fridge, our rebellion against the weight of expectations, and we talked until the words ran dry, about the fear of losing everything. Scholarships, family, the roar of the crowd that made us feel invincible. "What if they find out?" he asked, voice small against the cricket chorus. "What if it's you they hate?" I turned to him, the dashboard glow casting shadows on his jawline, and took the risk. Then we fight it together. Like always. My hand found his on the gearshift and he didn't pull back. Instead, he closed the distance, his lips brushing mine tentative as a first down sneak. It was clumsy, tasting of cheap lager and relief, but it lit me up like the 4th of July. Fireworks under my skin, the kind that promised more than just a spark. From there, it was stolen moments. A hand lingering too long during warm-ups, coded glances across the cafeteria where Brittany from chem class batted her lashes at me like I gave a damn. Jake and I were careful, orbiting each other in the chaos of senior year. Homecoming floats, SAT crams, the pressure cooker of playoffs looming. But every touch, every whispered later in the equipment shed, built something unbreakable. Or so I thought. The betrayal hit like a blindside sack 2 weeks later, during film study in the dim AV room. Coach had us breaking down last week's tape, but my mind was on Jake's text from lunch. Meet after? Corey? I was grinning like an idiot when Tyler, our cocky linebacker with a mouth bigger than his biceps, slapped a grainy printout on my desk. A screenshot from some anonymous Snapchat story. It was Jake, arm around that exchange student from California, Lucas, at the mall food court. Laughing. Close. Too close. My stomach dropped harder than a fumbled snap. Dudes playing both sides. Tyler snorted, oblivious to the knife twisting in my gut. Heard Lucas is all about that Cali vibe. Bet Jake's just experimenting. The room erupted in that locker room guffaw, the one that masked insecurities with cruelty, but I barely heard it. All I saw was Jake's face, inches from someone else's, the easy intimacy I'd kill to claim in public. I confronted him at practice's end, dragging him behind the bleachers where the chain link rattled in the wind off Lake Erie. What the hell is this? I shoved the phone at him, voice low and lethal. His eyes widened, then shuddered. Guilt? Sure, but something sharper, defensive. It's nothing, Ethan. Just hanging out. Lucas gets it, you know? No hiding. The words landed like a penalty flag. No hiding. As if I was the chain dragging him down. So that's it? You feed me this line about fighting together and now you're what? Moving on because it's easier? My fists clenched, nails biting palms, the betrayal burning hotter than any post-game ice bath. He stepped closer, voice a harsh whisper. You think this is easy for me? Dad's on my ass about manning up, Scout sniffing around. And yeah, Lucas, he doesn't look at me like I'm a freak show. He just sees me. Tears welled, but he blinked them back, jaw set like he was facing down a blitz. I love you, Ethan. God, I do. But maybe we're kidding ourselves. This town's not ready. We're not. I reeled back, the bleachers digging into my spine. Love. He'd said it casual as a handoff, but it gutted me. Because I loved him too, fiercely, stupidly. The kind of love that made me rewrite my whole playbook. And now? Felt like interception, the ball ripped away midair. We didn't speak for days. Practice became a minefield. Stolen passes veering wild, routes run half-hearted. Coach barked about focus, slapped helmets in frustration, but he didn't see the fracture line cracking through us. I threw myself into drills, arms burning, lungs screaming, anything to outrun the ache. Nights, I'd scroll old photos. Us at Cedar Point, arms slung around each other under the roller coaster scream, wondering where it went wrong. Was I too cautious? Too scared to shout it from the 50-yard line? The team's holiday party at Coach's ranch-style house on the outskirts was the powder keg. String lights twinkled over the backyard like false stars. Country tunes twanging from speakers. Eggnog spiked heavy with rum. I nursed a solo cup in the shadows, watching Jake across the fire pit. Lucas at his side, blonde hair catching the flames. Laugh carrying on the chill December air. They weren't kissing, not even close. But the way Lucas leaned in, murmuring something that made Jake's shoulders relax. It was poison ivy creeping up my throat. Tyler sidled up, reeking of peppermint schnapps. You see that? Your boy's gone rainbow on US. He chuckled, but his eyes were mean, probing. Rumors had started, whispers in the weight room about that vibe between Jake and me, now twisted with Lucas like some tabloid scandal. Better watch your back, QB. Wouldn't want the whole squad thinking you're, you know. The threat hung subtle as a stiff arm. Lincoln High wasn't exactly a beacon of progress. Last year, they'd yanked funding for the GSA club after parents pitched fits at a school board meeting. One wrong move and scholarships evaporated, futures torched. I snapped, stormed over, cup crumpling in my fist. We need to talk. Now. Jake's face paled, but he followed me to the edge of the woods, Lucas calling after him with a confused babe that sliced deeper than any razor. Under the pines, frost crunching under boots, it all poured out. The hurt, the fear, the love twisted into something ugly. You can't just dip in and out, Jake. It's killing me. He fired back, voice rising. And what about you? Hiding behind your perfect straight boy facade while I bleed out here. We were yelling now, words like tackles, until a branch snapped. Coach, lumbering out with a flashlight, faces etched in concern. Kids? Everything all right? His gruff tone cut the tension, but his eyes darted between us, piecing it together. Jake froze, and I saw the panic flash. Career over, dreams dashed. Without thinking, I stepped forward. Just team stuff, coach. Rough week. He nodded slow, but the doubt lingered. Get it sorted. Playoffs start next Friday. Can't have fractures. As he retreated, Jake grabbed my arm, whisper fierce. Why'd you cover? You could have let me sink. Because I still... The words caught, but he knew. Pulled me into a hug that was all bone and desperation. Our breaths mingling in the cold. That fragile truce held through Christmas break. Awkward family dinners where I'd text him memes under the table. Stolen drives where we'd park and just breathe. Hands linked like anchors. But Lucas hovered, a ghost in our group chat, and the whispers grew. Teammates side-eyeing. A slashed tire on Jake's truck with fag keyed into the paint. The climax crashed down the night before the championship qualifier. Snow blanketing the field like a shroud. We'd snuck into the stadium after curfew. Ghosts in the grandstands, sharing a blanket against the bite. I ended it with Lucas, Jake said out of nowhere, voice steady. He was a distraction. A way to breathe without you knowing how bad it hurt. Relief flooded me, warm as stadium floodlights. Then let's do this. For real. I kissed him then, deep and sure, the world fading to the taste of hot chocolate on his tongue and the distant howl of wind through the goalposts. But betrayal's shadow loomed. Tyler had been watching, always watching. Next morning at practice, as we ran suicides in the slush, he cornered me in the tunnel. Got something for you, hero. He thrust his phone forward. A video, shaky cam from the woods at the party, audio catching our raised voices, the hug at the end framed like evidence. Send this to coach and your little love story's front page news. Or back off Jake, and it stays buried. The demand hit like frostbite. Betrayal not just from Jake's slip, but from within, our own line-turning traitor. Heart pounding, I deleted it on the spot, but Tyler's smirk said copies existed. Your call, pretty boy. Game night arrived under a bruised sky, the stands packed with scarves and foam fingers, air electric with chants. We were down by 10 at halftime, mud caking our jerseys, breaths fogging in the chill. In the locker room, tension crackled. Eyes on us, whispers like static. Jake met my gaze across the benches. A silent huddle of two. We got this. Second half, it was poetry in motion. I dropped back, scanned, and there he was, Jake streaking downfield, a blur against the defense. The ball spiraled true, nestling in his hands like fate. Touchdown. The crowd erupted, but as he spiked it, Tyler laid him out late. Helmet to ribs, illegal as hell. Jake hit the turf hard, curling fetal, and the ref's whistle pierced the roar. I was there in seconds, peeling off my helmet, hands on his face. Stay with me. His eyes fluttered, pain etching lines too deep for 18. Medics swarmed, stretcher ready, but before they wheeled him, he gripped my jersey. Tell them. All of it. A nod to the team, to the world watching on local cable. Coach called the penalty, but the hit was dirty, intentional. Tyler benched, ejected, his phone, accidentally, smashed in the scuffle. As Jake was loaded into the ambulance, lights flashing red against the snow, I turned to the huddle, voice breaking but clear. Jake's my brother. More than that. And if any of you have a problem, step up now. Silence, then. A slow clap from our center, murmurs rippling into nods. No pitchforks, no exodus. Just quiet acceptance, the kind forged in foxholes. We won in overtime, my arm a machine, but the real victory was later, in the hospital room with beeping monitors and wilting carnations. Jake, bandaged and groggy, squeezed my hand. You did it. We did. Months blurred. Rehab sessions where I'd sneak kisses between reps, coming out to my mom over pie, her hug tighter than any tackle. Jake's dad? A harder sell, grunts turning to questions. Then a beer shared on the porch, progress inch by inch. Tyler faded, expelled after more dirt surfaced. Bully's gonna bully, but karma's got a long memory. Summer found us on a road trip, Route 66 calling with its diners and deserts. No more hiding. We'd park under neon signs, dreams spilling like stars, college ball at OSU maybe, or film school for him, capturing stories like ours. Betrayal scarred us, sure, but it honed the love, made it human, flawed, fierce, enduring. Looking back, that locker room breakdown wasn't the end. It was the snap count. And in the game of us we called our own plays. Forever. The drive to Cleveland that spring felt like shedding skin. Ohio's flat fields giving way to the lake's moody sprawl. Jake's hand warm on my thigh as I gripped the wheel of my beat-up Ford. We'd aced the playoffs without him after that brutal hit, clinching state with a field goal as the clock bled out. But the trophy gathered dust on my shelf while he fought through PT. Every wince a reminder of what we'd almost lost. Pull over, he said suddenly, pointing to a roadside overlook where the Cuyahoga shimmered like molten silver under the May sun. I killed the engine, and we tumbled out, laughing as we raced to the rail, wind whipping our hoodies. Below, freighters chugged like ancient beasts, horns low and mournful. Jake leaned against me, head on my shoulder. Remember when we thought this was it? High school glory. Then poof, adulthood. His voice carried that old ache, the one that surfaced when scouts stopped calling. His ribs still tender under my palm. Yeah, I murmured, kissing his temple, salt and sunscreen on my lips. But we're writing the sequel. It was true in fragments. My acceptance to Ohio State on a partial ride, his to Kent State for communications, close enough for weekends, far enough to breathe. No more shared locker rooms, but the echo lingered. The steam, the secrets, the spark that started it all. Back home, though, cracks showed. My mom's acceptance was a quiet revolution. She'd slip articles on ally parenting into my laundry basket, bake rainbow cookies for pride without fanfare. Dad? He grunted through it, bonding over Bengals games, but his golf buddies' side eyes at church picnics stung. Jake's side was stormier. His old man, a union welder with calluses like armor, had thawed to tolerance after the hospital vigil, but dinner tables bristled. Pass the potatoes, son, he'd say, avoiding Jake's eyes, the unspoken don't embarrass me hanging heavy. Then came the letter, innocuous in its crisp envelope, addressed to Jake at our old P.O. box. I found it wedged in the mailbox during a rain-lashed afternoon, thunder rumbling like Coach's temper. Inside, a scholarship offer from a D2 school in Texas, full ride, no strings but the fine print, a conduct clause buried deep, the kind that whispered we know your type. Jake read it aloud in the kitchen, voice flat, then crumpled it into the trash. They think they can buy me quiet. Rage simmered in me, hot as black coffee. Screw 'em. Kent's got heart. But doubt crept in that night, as we lay tangled in my twin bed, rain pattering the window like accusations. What if I drag you down? He whispered, fingers tracing my collarbone. What if Texas is the out we need? I propped on an elbow, heart slamming. Drag me? You're the wind in my sails, Jake. Without you. The words choked, visions of empty stands, solo drives through cornfields. We'd built this, fragile as a highlight reel, but it was ours. Summer deepened, sticky and golden, filled with county fairs where we'd sneak cotton candy kisses behind the Ferris wheel. dodging hay bales and hawkers. Tyler's shadow lingered, though. He'd slunk back to town on probation, working pumps at the gas station, eyes narrowing whenever our trucks rolled up. One evening, as dusk bled purple, he cornered Jake outside the diner, voice oily. "Heard you're playing house. Careful, word gets around." Jake shoved past, but the seed planted. Paranoia bloomed. Anonymous texts on burners. Freak show scrawled on Jake's locker at the community center gym. We reported it, cops shrugging, kids being kids. But the fear gnawed, turning our quarry spot into a no-go zone. The real fracture hit at the annual town festival. Fireworks booming over the river like artillery. We'd volunteered at the booth for the rec league, slinging hot dogs to families in red, white, and blue gear. Laughter flowed easy until Mrs. Hargrove, the busybody from Jake's church youth group, sidled up, Bible tucked under arm like a weapon. "Ethan dear, it's lovely seeing you boys so close. But Jake, your father's asked me to remind you about that youth retreat. Straighten up before college, Her smile was saccharine poison, and Jake's face drained, spatula trembling in his grip. I stepped in, voice steel. "Appreciate the concern, ma'am, but we're good. Burgers flipping fine." She huffed off, but the damage stuck. Jake silent the rest of shift, grease smudged on his cheek like war paint. That night, under the mosquito net on my back porch, it erupted. "She's right," he said, staring at fireflies like they held answers. "This town's a pressure cooker. One leak, and boom. Dad disowns me, your ride vanishes." His eyes, dark pools in the lantern glow, pleaded for me to argue. But betrayal echoed, old wounds reopening. "So what, we run? Pretend again." I paced the warped boards, voice rising with the cicadas. "I covered for you, for us, and now you're folding?" He stood, closing the gap, hands framing my face. "Not folding. Fighting smarter. Maybe. Distance. Texas could be a test run. Prove I can stand alone." The words gutted me sharper than Tyler's hit. Alone. As if love was a luxury we couldn't afford. We didn't speak after that. Not really. Polite texts, stilted goodbyes at the airport drop-off, his duffel slung over shoulder like a surrender flag. I drove home through sheets of rain, wipers slashing tears I wouldn't shed. The Ford's radio crooning some Heartland ballad about lost highways. College hit like a freshman huddle, Buckeye scarlet everywhere, tailgates thundering, the grind of two-a-days under Coach Day's glare. I buried in it. Spirals arcing true, study halls with poli-sci majors who eyed my ring finger like it was code. But Jake haunted the edges. Snapchats from Kent, him grinning in lecture halls, golden retriever energy masking the hollow in his eyes. "Miss you, QB. Texas offers on hold." Relief, then ache. We video called Sundays, pixels bridging the gap, but static crept in. His hesitations, my clipped laughs. Fall leaves turned, and the betrayal resurfaced. Not Jake's, but mine. A party at the frat house, keg stands and jello shots. Some sorority girl named Haley pressing close, her perfume cloying. "You're that quarterback, right? The one with the arm." Flirtation, easy escape, but when her lips brushed mine, it was ash, wrong flavor, wrong fire. I bolted to the bathroom, splashing water, staring at a reflection that looked like a stranger. "What are you doing?" Back in the room, Jake's face lit my screen. Incoming call. "Hey," he said, background hum of a dorm party. "You okay? Look wrecked." Guilt surged. Just stupid night. The confession tumbled. The kiss, the recoil, the clarity it brought. Silence stretched, then his laugh soft, knowing. "Idiot. Get here. Now." I drove through the night, Buckeye leaves swirling like confetti. Arriving at dawn to his off-campus apartment, coffee brewing, pancakes sizzling. He pulled me inside. No words, just arms wrapping tight. The scent of him. Irish spring and ambition, home. "No more tests," he murmured against my neck. "We're the real deal." From there, it rebuilt. Weekends shuttling I-71, his comms projects featuring our story in veiled scripts. My games where he'd scream from the visitor stands, scarf knotted like a talisman. But conflict brewed national. DOMA whispers in the news, protests flickering on CNN, reminding us the world's not Ohio-sized. Winter break brought the storm. Jake's dad, beer in hand at the family cabin up near Hocking Hills, cornered us by the fire. Saw the papers, son. Gaze in the military now? What's next? His tone probed, not hostile, but laced with that old Rust Belt fear. Jake stiffened beside me on the plaid couch, mulled wine steaming. Next? Us living without lies. Dad. The room froze. Mom's knitting needles still, siblings' eyes wide. I braced, hand finding his under the Afghan. Silence cracked like ice on the lake outside. Then slow, "You happy?" his dad asked, voice gruff. Jake nodded, throat bobbing. Happiest. Pause, eternal. Then, all right. No hugs, no parades, but a nod. A bridge extended, humanistic in its halting grace. Spring thawed more. Tyler's apology letter, scrawled from juvie. I was scared, man. Sorry. We burned it in the quarry, ashes scattering like forgiveness. Jake's Texas offer? Declined with a form letter, his Kent profs rallying for an internship at a Cleveland station. Spotlight on queer voices. Graduation loomed, caps and gowns a blur, but our ceremony was private. Under the stadium lights one last time, jerseys swapped, rings exchanged, simple bands engraved with coordinates of that first kiss. To the unexpected, I toasted with stolen champagne, his grin brighter than any end zone pylon. Yet drama lingered, a final twist. A recruiter from ESPN caught wind. Our story, pieced from whispers, pitched as Heartland heroes. Interview offer, lights and mics. Jake balked. They'll spin us into saints or sinners. I pulled him close in the empty gym, echoes of sneakers fading. Let M. We're the authors. He relented and the segment aired, raw, real, two kids from Ohio who shared a locker room and found a life. Years later, married in a backyard affair with Springsteen on the speakers, we'd laugh about the hooks. That sobbing shower, the bleacher brawl, the road that almost forked us apart. Betrayal taught resilience, conflict carved depth. But love? It was the constant play calling us home. The apartment in Columbus smelled of fresh paint and possibility when we signed the lease that June. A third-floor walk-up overlooking the Scioto River, its waters lazy under summer haze. Jake insisted on the clawfoot tub. Romantic, right? And I rolled my eyes, but secretly thrilled at the domesticity. The way he'd hum while unpacking boxes, vinyl records stacked like promises. Ohio State had me redshirting my sophomore year, nursing a nagging shoulder from overthrows. So days blurred into freelance gigs for Jake's student film crew, hauling lights through frat row, capturing co-eds in candid glory. Nights were ours. Takeout Ty on the fire escape, his head in my lap as we dissected plots. His dream of directing stories that mattered, mine of calling plays that echoed beyond the turf. But the humanistic grind wore thin fast. Bills stacked like unsent love letters. Rent jacking up, my partial scholarship stretched thin over books and bleacher seats. Jake's internship at the local NPR affiliate paid in clips, not cash, and his old man's loans came with lectures. Real men provide, Jacob. We'd argue in whispers over ramen, my pride bristling. I'm not your dad. I'd snap and he'd flinch, the betrayal of expectation a ghost we couldn't exorcise. Fall semester ramped the tension, leaves turning crimson as rivalries ignited. A game against Michigan loomed, the big house a colossus of hostility, and scouts circled again. NFL whispers for me if my arm held. Jake tagged along to an arbor, bundled in scarlet, but the tailgate vibe soured quick. Drunk alums slurring fairy football. Eyes on us like we were the halftime show. He laughed it off, thick skin, babe, but I saw the fracture, the way he shrank into his hoodie. Post-win haze, we crashed at a motel off I-75, neon buzzing vacancy like a dare. Champagne pilfered from the stadium suite fizzed in plastic flutes as we danced slow to a staticky radio. His body fitting mine like a well-worn glove. To us, he toasted, eyes soft. But midway through a kiss that deepened like a fourth-quarter drive, his phone lit up. Lucas. California number after all this time. I pulled back, stomach nodding. Answer it. He hesitated, thumb hovering, then silenced it. Old news. But doubt slithered in cold as the AC units hum. Lucas, the easy out, the one who'd seen Jake without the masks. Was I just the anchor now, tethering him to complications? The call came again days later, during my conditioning run along the riverfront. Olentangy breeze sharp with autumn bite. Jake picked up in the kitchen, voice pitched low. I caught fragments from the stairwell. Yeah, it's good. Missed the sun. Ethan? He's everything. Relief, then paranoia. Who was everything to? Me or the life we built on Ohio clay? Confrontation brewed over pizza that night. Boxes open on the coffee table scarred from student parties. Lucas again? I asked, casual as a sideline chat, but my fork stabbed the pepperoni like it owed me. He sighed, wiping sauce from his chin. Just catching up. He's producing a doc on queer athletes. Thought I'd consult. Innocent, maybe, but the subtext screamed. Escape routes, what ifs. You're not jealous, are you? Jealous? It was terror, of losing the boy who turned my world into a highlight reel. It's not that. Us versus them. Always fighting for space. My voice cracked, raw as post-game interviews. He reached across, thumb stroking my knuckles. Then let's fight together. No more ghosts. Truce held through November's chill. Thanksgiving at my folks where mom's turkey bridged gaps. Dad clinking glasses with Jake over pie. Good arm on that one. A nod to more than football. But betrayal's echo resounded in December. A package arriving unmarked. The video. Tyler's handiwork, digitized and emailed anonymously. Time-stamped from the woods. Now with a note. Share or square up. $5,000. Your call. Jake's face ashen when I showed him. Laptop screen glowing accusatory. How? He swore. Fury mixed with fear, we'd thought it buried, but digital graves are shallow. Pay up, and we'd bleed dry. Ignore, and it floods the net. Scholarships revoked. Futures fumbled. We drove to Tyler's that night. Snow squalling. My knuckles white on the wheel. He answered the trailer door in a wife-beater. Smirk fading at our twin glares. Gents. Come for autographs. Cut the shit? Jake growled, shoving past into the smoke-hazed living room. Pabstkins littering the carpet. I followed, heart hammering. The video. Delete every copy. Now. He laughed, but it rang hollow, eyes darting to the bedroom where his mom hollered at a TV evangelist. Or what? You gonna cry to daddy? Oh, wait. The jab landed, but Jake lunged, fist cocked. Not throwing, just pinning him to the wall, forearm like iron. Listen, you small-time bully, Jake hissed, inches from his face. That hit you laid? Cracked ribs, but this cracks souls. Delete it or I go public, not just us, but you. The slurs, the keys and trucks, the whole coward routine. Tyler sagged, bravado crumbling like wet Kleenex. Fine, it's gone. Laptop open, files dragged to trash, password changed under our watch. But as we left, his parting shot. World's bigger than your bubble, boys. It chews up pretty ones like you. The drive home was silent exorcism, wipers slashing doubts. At the light, Jake's hand found mine. We won that round. Yeah, but rounds kept coming, life's no mercy rule. Climax crested New Year's Eve, house party at a teammate's off-campus sprawl. Bass thumping through walls papered in posters of Lombardi and Ollie. We'd sworn off big scenes, but Marcus, our gentle giant of a lineman, insisted, y'all are family, bring the glitter. Jake dressed sharp, button-down rolled to elbows, slacks hugging his runner's build. While I stuck to jeans, nerves jangling like loose change. Crowd swelled. Athletes shotgunning beers, artsy types debating Foucault. A rainbow of Ohio youth chasing euphoria. We danced in the crush, bodies sinking like old routes, his laugh bubbling over Bad Bunny tracks. Then, lights dim, countdown ticking. Someone shoved a mic our way, impromptu resolutions circle. Ethan, what's yours? QB. Spotlight panic, but Jake's grin anchored me. To the guy who caught every pass, I said, pulling him close, lips brushing his ear. The room hooped, no malice, just cheers. But in the corner, a phone filmed, faceless, flashing. Morning after, hungover and hopeful, the clip went viral. Not Tyler's grainy threat, but this, us, tender and triumphant, captioned Midwest Magic Love Wins. Shares exploded, ESPN retweet, local news pickup, even Jake's prof emailing. Inspire the class tomorrow? Betrayal flipped to boon, but conflict raged internal. Jake paced our kitchen, coffee sloshing. This changes everything. Scouts calling you the gay gunslinger? Dad seeing it on Fox. I caught his waist steady. Let it. We're not hiding anymore. He melted, kiss fierce, but doubt lingered, romance's price, fame's double edge. Spring brought bloom. My arm healed, starting lineup secured. Jake's short film screened at a queer fest in Athens. Us in the front row, hands clasped through tears and applause. Yet humanism grounded us. Volunteering at the rec center, coaching kids who'd scrawl hearts on playbooks, showing them plays beyond the field. One evening, quarry-bound for old times, fireflies dancing, Jake turned serious. Remember the shower? Thought it was the end. I nodded, arm around him. Nah, just intermission. He chuckled, then sobered. What if the sequel's tragedy? Stats say half these stories crash. Distance, doubt. I silenced him with a kiss, river murmuring agreement. Then we rewrite. Human ain't perfect. It's persistent. Grad school loomed, his MFA pitch, my coaching cert. But that night, under stars pricked like promises, we vowed the long game. No fumbles, just forever. The move to Athens for Jake's MFA program felt like upgrading from starter to pro. Rolling hills of Appalachia replacing Columbus Flats. Our new place a creaky Victorian with porch swings and ivy-clinging walls. I'd commute for coaching clinics at OU, whistle around my neck like a talisman, barking drills to freshmen with dreams as big as their egos. Mornings started with his scripts scattered on the quilt, me brewing tea strong as my tackles, reading lines aloud till he groaned or grinned. Your ham, babe, he'd tease, but his eyes sparkled. Love in the lilt, romance woven into routine, yet drama simmered beneath the idyllic. National eyes lingered post-viral. Op-eds praising our courage, trolls demanding slurs that Jake deleted with the surgeon's calm. Fuel for the fire, he'd say, channeling it into a thesis film, Huddle. A docudrama on closeted athletes. Interviews laced with our story's grit. I appeared in snippets, voiceover steady. It's not about the catch. It's the trust. Conflict-crested autumn. Leaves aflame as Huddle premiered at a Cincinnati fest. Standing room only, air thick with popcorn and anticipation. Jake fidgeted backstage, Ty Askew, while I squeezed his hand. Nail it. Lights up, reel spun, raw testimonies, locker room shadows lifting like fog. Q&A hit hard. A teen from the front row, voice quaking. How'd you know it was worth the risk? Jake glanced at me, throat working. Because losing him wasn't an option. Applause thundered, but backstage, a producer cornered him. LA offer? Big studio polish on the rough cut. West Coast dreams, kid. Your boy's portable, right? Portable. The word chafed like ill-fitted pads. Over hotel bar bourbon that night, it erupted. LA? Now? We're barely settled. My tone sharper than intended. Ice-clinking accusation. He leaned in, breath warm. Not now, graduation. It's a shot, Ethan. Stories like ours need wider screens. Hope lit his face, but I saw the fork. Ohio roots versus Hollywood haze. Me anchoring while he soared. Betrayal stung subtle, no lies, just omissions. He'd fielded calls for weeks. Networking, he called it. But the secrecy gnawed. You shut me out, I accused, voice low amid lounge jazz. Like the quarry days. Testing waters without a lifeline. He recoiled, hurt flashing. This isn't betrayal. It's ambition. You of all people. Chasing rings while I chase reels. The jab landed, my coaching dreams modest beside his fire. We stormed to the room in silence. Bed vast as the divide. Reconciliation dawned raw. Him slipping under sheets at 3 a.m., arms banding me tight. I'm scared too, of leaving you behind. Tears wet my chest, his vulnerability the glue. Then don't. We adapt. Plays change mid-game. Truce deepened through winter's hush, snow blanketing the hills like forgiveness. I landed a grad assistant gig at OU, diagramming X's and O's by day, critiquing his cuts by night. But external storms brewed. Jake's dad, visiting for holidays, caught the LA buzz over venison stew. California? Buncha fruits and flakes. Gruff but probing, progress in the asking, not assuming. Fits me, Pop, Jake replied, even telling stories that stick. Pause, fork scraping plate. Like ours. Dad's nod was grudging gold. A crack in the armor. Spring unfurled green, huddle snagging awards. A regional Emmy nod. Festival buzz. Invites poured. Sundance whispers. Panel spots at queer cons. Jake glowed. But pressure mounted. Deadlines clashing with my spring camp. Nights I'm editing till dawn while I tossed alone. The climax cracked Memorial Day weekend. Road trip to Chicago for a pride panel. Windy City glittered. Rainbow flags snapping like victory banners. We paneled with activists. Raw talks on visibility's cost. Applause electric. After party at a rooftop bar. Skyline twinkling. Champagne flowing. Jake networked fierce. Cards swapped. Laughs easy with a producer named Alex. Sharp. LA transplant with a jawline like chiseled marble. I watched from the rail. City hum below. Jealousy coiling like a tight spiral. Alex's hand on Jake's arm. Lingering. Innocent? Or echo of Lucas? The easy allure? When Jake joined me. Flushed. I couldn't hold it. New bestie. He frowned. Glass midway. Jealous again? It's work. But his deflection fueled the fire. Work that touches you like that? Come on. Raised voices drew stares. Party din fading. You're projecting, Ethan. Your fears, not facts. Hurt laced his tone. The betrayal flipped. Me doubting him, after all we'd weathered. We cabbed back to the hotel in icy quiet. Lake Michigan's chill seeping through windows. Room service cold, we circled like wary teammates. I need air, I muttered, storming to the balcony. City lights blurring wet. He followed, door clicking shut. Talk to me. Like the bleachers. Wind tugged his hair, eyes pleading. I turned, chest heaving. It's not doubt, it's dread. You shine, Jake. Brighter than this town, this life. What if LA swallows you and I'm yesterday's highlight? He closed the gap, hands cupping my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't clocked. You're the plot, the arc, the end credits roll. No LA without my QB. Kiss then, desperate, devouring skyline witness to our recommit. Dawn brought clarity. Compromise. He'd defer LA. Pilot a local series on Midwest queer tales, grounded, growing. I pitched in, scouting talent from my coaching circles, stories of jocks coming out under Friday lights. Humanism bloomed in the aftermath. Panel fallout went viral again, not scandal but solidarity. Letters from kids in small towns, you gave me courage. Jake's dad even tuned in, emailing a rare proud emoji, pixels worth paragraphs. Summer solstice found us hiking Hawkins Gorges. Waterfalls thundering like applause. At the rim, sweat slick and spent, he dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but a vow renewed. A locket with our first practice photo, chain glinting. Anchor and sail, he said, fastening it. I pulled him up, spin till dizzy. Team forever. Yet romance's thread wove through trials. My shoulder flared mid-clinic, sidelining demos. His grant rejected, forcing barista shifts. We leaned, me massaging Knott's post-jog, him scripting pep talks for my anxieties. Betrayal's lessons? Trust isn't absence of storm. It's dancing in the rain. Fall semester kicked, leaves swirling as Huddle 2.0 brewed, Boulder interviewing Tyler, now reformed in community college, his regret raw footage. I was the unexpected, he admitted on cam, voice cracking. Your strength? That's the real play. Premiere night, theater packed, our hands linked in the dark. Credits rolled, dedication. For the locker rooms yet to open. Q&A tears flowed. Embraces lingered. Outside, under marquee glow, Jake whispered, "This is us, dramatic, damn it, but ours." Years layered then, his series greenlit, my head coaching offer at a high school feeder, back to Ohio roots but evolved. We bought a fixer-upper in Athens, porch swing creaking lullabies. No grand tragedy, just humanistic happily ever, scarred, shining, shared. The head coaching gig at Meadowbrook High dropped like manna that spring. A stone's throw from Athens, fields green as hope with goalposts straight as our spine. I'd pace sidelines in crisp polos, whistle shrill, diagramming dreams for kids with eyes wide as saucers. Reminders of us at Lincoln, scrawny and starving for glory. Jake thrived too, his series field lines picking up steam, episodes streaming on PBS affiliates, tales of queer athletes threading the national vein. Our Victorian hummed with life. Dinner parties where producers swapped war stories, lazy Sundays with him editing on the couch, my feet in his lap, commentary peppered with kisses. But life's no script without twists. Conflict stirred when Field Lines scored a Netflix pickup, six-figure deal, filming relocating to LA for authenticity. Jake broke it over anniversary paella, candles flickering on our scarred oak table, wine breathing like anticipation. It's huge, Ethan. National reach, stories that change laws, lives. Joy warred with dread, fork midway to mouth. LA. Again. The word echoed old rifts, betrayal's aftertaste bitter. We just rooted here. The house, my team. He set down his glass, eyes earnest. 6 months, tops. You could visit, coach remote, or sabbatical. Optimism laced his pitch, but I heard the pull. Spotlights brighter than goal lamps, scripts calling him west. Nights blurred into debates. Prose versus heartstrings, ambition versus anchor. "You're clipping my wings," he accused one eve, pacing the kitchen, scripts curling in his fist, pushing me to stay small. Small? This life's epic. Us. Building, not bolting. My voice rose, hurt hot. "You promised no more tests." The locket swung from my neck. Talisman turned tether. He deflated, sinking to the tile. It's not a test. It's terror of stagnating, of us fading to footnote. Tears tracked, raw as first confessions. I knelt, arms enfolding. Then go. But come back. Always. Decision made, boxes packed light, his duffel echoing that airport goodbye years back. Send off at the quarry. Fireflies conspirators. We made love under blankets. Slow and sacred, bodies mapping promises. 6 months. He breathed, dawn painting us gold. Then home. LA swallowed him gentle at first. Texts buzzing with set photos, palm trees framing his grin. Calls laced with miss you amid traffic wails. I threw into coaching drills till dusk, mentoring a closeted lineman named Riley. His whispers mirroring Jake's old fears. "Coach, what if?" I clap his shoulder. "What if you fly?" But distance nod, weeks stretching to voids. A game night FaceTime, his face pixelated, background hum of craft services. "Date tonight, network mixer." Casual, but the word date twisted, jealousy flaring unbidden. "Who?" I pressed, beer turning sour. "Colleagues. Relax." Laughter, but strained. Then, slip. "Alex is producing." The sharp-jawed ghost from Chicago, hand-lingering Alex. Silence crackled. "That Alex." Accusation slipped, betrayal's reflex. He sighed, screen blurring with his rub. "Ethan, it's work. Trust me." But doubt rooted deep. LA's glamour, temptations twinkling like distant stars. Betrayal bloomed 2 months in, a tabloid blind item. Queer showrunner and ex-athlete rekindle? Spotted cozy at Chateau. No names, but the math screamed. I scrolled numb, heart fumbled, then dialed. Voicemail. Texts unread till dawn his time. "Call me. Now." He picked up groggy, sheets rumpled behind. "Babe? It's 5 a.m. Cozy, huh?" Venom dripped, link forwarded. His face crumpled, denial swift. Gossip rag bullshit. Dinner with the crew, Alex included, yeah, but platonic. Swear. Swear? Like quarry promises. Rage crested, old wounds suppurating. I'm here grinding, you're there glittering. Maybe Tyler was right. World chews us up. Click. Hung up. Phone hurled to cushions. Days passed in radio silence. My practices mechanical. Riley's worried glances unanswered. Mom called. Fix it, honey. Love's no penalty box. Reunion crashed week 4. Him flying coach back for a forced breather. Surprise at my office door. Duffel slung. Eyes red-rimmed. We talk. Real. Diner booth. Greasy spoons our confessional he spilled. The mixer photo twisted. Alex just a friend pitching collabs. The isolation hitting harder than acclaim. LA's shine? Tin without you. Vulnerability poured, his hand over mine on the formica. I bolted, not from us but fear. Of not being enough. I exhaled, fork tracing rings. And me? Clinging. Scared you'll eclipse. Confession mutual. Betrayal revealed as mutual sabotage. My doubts fueling his flight. His distance amplifying mine. Forgive? He whispered. Thumb circling my wedding band. Vows exchanged in that backyard. Springsteen serenading. Always. Burger half-eaten we rebuilt. Him rapping filming early, hybrid remote. Me planning Cali clinics, bridging coasts. Climax quieted to crescendo that fall. Field lines finale streamed. Our cameo woven in. A locker room epilogue echoing origins. Reviews hailed. Human. Heartfelt. Awards followed. Emmy's gold in his palm. Speech choking. To the unexpected. My partner. My play caller. Back home, snow dusting the porch, we hosted a watch party. Team kids, his crew, parents toasting awkward but earnest. Riley cornered me later. You too? Goals coach. Kid grinned. Out and proud now, our ripple effect. Years cascaded. His show renewed. My Meadowbrook squad state-bound. A son adopted little Finn. Freckles like Jake's. Tossing spirals in the yard. Betrayals? Scars faded to stories. Told over campfires. Remember when? Humanistic end. No tidy bow. Life's messy plays. Fumbles redeemed by grit. But ours? A romance unbroken. Dramatic in devotion. Gay and glorious under American skies. The locker room shared wasn't just space. It was soul. The unexpected birthing eternity. In quiet moments, Jake's head on my chest. Finn snores down the hall. I'd whisper, best call ever. He'd chuckle, locket glinting. Huddle up, QB. Forever.